I sell a lot, but it takes money to keep doing that shit. So I still live. I live pretty conservatively, man. You know how it is.
Yep. All right, so let's get started because we got a ton of people waiting.
Cool.
So I think this is recording now. I'm going to assume Ike set it up correctly because I suck at this stuff. Hey, everybody. Sam Cohen and the one and only Harvey Spectr here. We're going to be very short and sweet, and we're just going to share whatever information we can about the upcoming Nike Friends and Family sale. The new cards have a swoosh on them. We bought them on eBay typically. You can get some from the Nike store, but they're hit or miss. We bought them anywhere from $7 to $10. We picked up 102 of them. Harvey, how many did you buy?
I bought 60 at 10, and then
okay. We had clients that paid as low as $5 on a buy it now on eBay, but whatever. You're making $225 a card, unless you do it Harvey's way, and you can make more.
Yeah.
So every so often, Nike has a friends and family sale. I don't know. Is it every quarter or is it twice a year?
It seems to be between 2 and 4 times a year.
Okay.
But I've only been in the Nike shoe cycle for about 9 to 12 months, so I'm still learning.
Me too. So they have a friends and family sale. They give you 30% off, and they have these swoosh cards that you can buy on eBay or you can get from a Nike manager when you're in the store. They'll usually only give you one at a time, so we just buy them on eBay. Harvey's showing it to the camera there. Again, we bought 102 of them. We paid between $7 and $10. We've had clients that paid as little as $5. Harvey said he paid $10. It's really negligible. So the trick to the card is it has a $750 cap that each card can be used for. And typically what that means is you'll get 30% off $750. So 30% off $750 is $225. Now, what Harvey has told me he's done in the past, and I'll let Harvey explain it better, is he's gone above that number and he's had them backtrack into the $750. Go ahead.
So, anyway, first of all, just a little bit about these cards. Every one is numbered. So they're known and remembered by the Nike system. So you can only use every card one time. Okay? It's different than some other coupons. But just for the record, you can only use them one time. The language on the back states that it can be used one time only for a $750 pre-tax purchase. Now, someone like me, I don't think about it's got to be $750 and apply the coupon. I think I can spend $750 pre-tax, which the number that reduces to $750 is $1,170. So okay. I think about getting $1,170 worth of merchandise, and then when or below, it's like the Price is Right, as close as you can get without going over. And then you apply the card, and you know if you're at $1,170 or below, you're going to be below $750. $1,170 reduces to $749 exactly. So the way I do that,
it's $1,070.
It's $1,070.
$1,070. Yeah, just
sorry.
No problem. $1,070 times 0.7 is $749.
Okay, $1,070. My fault.
That's okay.
So, I just go up there and I won't try to count my prices before I get up there because sometimes prices are different. Usually at the Nike store they end up lower in a few things than you expect. So you get up there and you just, you act like you know what you're doing and just ask them, where I'm at. What's the damage? Just like you're trying to keep it at a certain number. And the Nike system automatically calculates with tax. So if you say, what's my total pre-tax, they're going to look at you like you have 3 heads because they're going to look at their screen. It only shows post-tax, and they got to hit 2 buttons to get back to the screen that shows pre-tax. And that's going to break their rhythm. They may have to ask the manager to come over, and then he or she may start asking questions. So if you know all this going in, if you know their system adds tax in already, depending on your state. I mean, if you're lucky enough to live in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, where they don't have tax on shoes and clothes, you don't have to add it in. But if you live in another state, you want to take 1070 and add the tax. So then your new number will be to meet or stay under will be that number. And then so once you get there, you just say, where are we at? And they say, you're within $20 of that. Then you just hand them this card. Now, first thing I told you about this card was that the barcodes are one use only. The second thing about this card is you could get 30% off of a $10,000 sale. The barcode gives you 30% off. It doesn't give you 30% off of a set amount, or at least it hasn't in the past. So I don't want you to worry that, well, maybe it'll only give me 30% off of that first $750 before it's reduced to $500. In the past, I've had them be like, let's just do it all in one transaction and get it done, and they'll ring up, $3,000 in shoes and let me do one time for 30%. I've had that happen also. So typically, especially earlier in the week, which is tomorrow and Friday, you can get them to do more of the 1070 reduced to 749 than you can later in the week. Because the more it's read, the more it's accepted, the more it's talked about, the more rules come in for it later on in the weekend of the 5-day sale. So I would start doing it tomorrow. I mean, in my opinion, it's a gray area of how it's worded. It's not dishonest. It's not stealing. It's just taking advantage of what's stated and what's not. It says a $750 pre-tax purchase. To me, that's what I spend. That's not in what my cost of goods is before they reduce it with the coupon.
That's awesome. And how successful have you been with that method?
I'd say the beginning of the week, it's been anywhere from 50 to 70% successful. And also, typically, if they have it all rung up and you do that, and then they go, oh, we can't do this, or oh, that's not how it works, typically they'll let that first transaction go through. And then they'll say, after this, it's got to be $750 that we reduce. Now, there's different rules all over the country. Some will be very, very sticklers. You can only use one per person per day.
Right.
Some will beg you to spend as much as you possibly can. Right. So, we try to get to, 6, 8, 10 stores, and like I tell everybody, don't try to worry about, well, I'm only going to spend $2,000 here because I got 3 more stores to go to. If you got a store that's playing ball and you're getting the inventory that fits your buying and selling criteria, use every single pass at that first store on the first day, and then figure it out later if you want to buy more, do more. I think I FedExed overnight a goose like 25 extra passes last time. Mm-hmm. There's options and opportunities to come up with more. So if you find a store that's friendly, playing ball, and has got good inventory, don't hold anything back. Spend your passes, spend your money. That's the way I look at things.
That's great advice, and also I think it's very important to say that every store is different. We have clients, we speak to them during one of these Nike sales, and they're like, "Hey, they just let us buy 700 pairs," and I'm like, "But there's 2 of you, and there's 30 of us, and we barely got 700 pairs." And we have what we have Jackie do, which is awesome. He'll literally camp out there from the minute they open, and he'll assemble orders in the valuation of the cards. So he'll put together a $750 order. He'll put together 10 of them, and we'll send 2 carloads of 5 people each to check out. Now, what our store does is they only let us use any one of my credit cards once in a day. So while I have about 20 different credit cards, they actually track which ones were used that day. So what we did was we bought discount gift cards. Now the market for discount gift cards is pretty dry leading up to these sales, but we'll buy them even if they're only at 3%, just because then we don't have to deal with the credit card issue. We could just hand them gift cards, and there's no way to say, hey, you used that credit card already today. So we've had friends and family, you know, when they ask Jackie who are all these people, he says they're my friends and family. You know, it's a friends and family sale. And we have a bunch of kids that work here. We have the Spanish people in the warehouse that work here, and we all go to Nike. We do it 5 people at a time. We do about 6 or 7 trips in a day. And we're able to check out, you know, 30, 35 times in one store in one day. So that's pretty cool.
A couple things. I'm just curious, is that store friendly to you guys for the most part, or are they?
It really depends on the time of the month and the manager that's on staff and whether or not they've hit their numbers or need to hit their numbers. I mean, and Jackie's probably the most lovable guy in the world, and sometimes they greet him with a smile, and sometimes they tell him 10 of one SKU, and sometimes they tell him $5,000 hard cap in a day.
Yeah, I've had that.
We have another one that's about 20 minutes away. They're a bunch of SOBs, and they're very strict. And I went in there last time with a wad of cash because they kept rejecting. They said, oh, use this credit card, use that credit card. So I went to the bank and I got $5,000 in cash, and I said, here's your money. Now what? You know?
Another solution to that, Sam, especially if your clients in the Midwest, and this is what we are doing, is I have 20,000 in Nike gift cards we bought at Kroger, and right now they have 4 times gas points, which is $1 off a gallon up to 35 gallons. So that equates to 14% off if you maximize the 35 gallons of gas, which is tough to do. But even if you can't maximize that, you're still solving the problem of, A, if they say, you know, well, I see you have 2 people with you, but she can't use your credit card, or you've already used that credit card, or whatever type of wall or barrier they want to throw up your way, they can't say anything about me handing somebody $1,000 in gift cards and saying, go check out these shoes. That is no association to me, you know, whatsoever. So, you know, and you get a discount on gas with Kroger. So,
and that brings up another point. I actually got Jackie and one other buyer, you know, secondary cards on my American Express in their names, because a lot of times they'll use my credit card and then they'll ask for a driver's license that matches the name on the credit card. So when they were using my cards, that was the way they tried to stop us. So obviously we learned and adapted, and we got Jackie his own credit card and one other buyer their own credit card. Another thing we've done is, if we're in the outlet mall, you know, we've offered to buy people lunch if they would go into Nike and check out. And you'd be amazed what people would do for a free lunch. You know, it costs you $5 or $10, whatever the number is, and you just made yourself a couple of $100 in discounts.
Yeah, that's something I do. Is a couple times with the stores I have here, is I've accidentally kept them after 9 o'clock checking me out. And they're really not supposed to like accept any type of whatever, because it can be interpreted as like quid pro quo for special treatment or whatever. But the next day, I mean, I've sent 10 pizzas to both Nike stores on like a Saturday when they have 40 people working. Just say, you know what, I apologize. You know, I kept you guys after 9 o'clock last night. I hate doing that. So then I basically take the heat off of them accepting something basically that can be interpreted as quid pro quo. And I always do that, you know, 2 or 3 weeks before a sale like this. Like, I wouldn't do it this Saturday, but you know, you may think about doing it when there's nothing going on and you don't need anything from them. You know, something like that to build a relationship. That's really helped me.
Very smart. And I think there's a recurring theme here in both Harvey and I talk a lot and think a lot alike. You know, we're not trying to do anything dishonest. we're trying to beat the system within the rules that they lay out for us. So, I was talking to Harvey a couple months ago, and he said something that I always, adhere to. We're looking to exploit the weakness in their offer. So the weakness in this offer is that, hey, we can buy the swoosh cards on eBay, and we can buy 100 of them, and we can go 5 days in a row, and we could send 20 people, separate people, and we could use gift cards, and we can, check out and maximize. And obviously Amazon's not on any of the Nike listings, so it has that added value. And there's a lot of things here. I feel like you and I are teaching people how to count cards in Las Vegas right now, because it's not against the rules, but you're really using your brains to your advantage here.
I would agree. It's a lot of my background in background in sports betting, poker, and blackjack.
Mine too. It seems like a lot of us in this business. I know Dang Lee and a couple of the other guys I've spoken to. Who was the guy? Mike Garner, who I mentioned to you. He was a professional poker player, and there's a lot of people that David Shannon also. I think he used to count cards for a while, or he used to gamble for a while for a living. And it's a very similar mindset here, in that you're trying to maximize the system. You're not trying to be you're not trying to lie, cheat, or steal. You're trying to maximize the system to your advantage.
Yeah, and if I pick a bad team or have a bad night in this business, I break even. In Las Vegas, I lose 100% of my stake. So
that's my biggest distinction in this business. I've made and lost fortunes in the stock market. I've been in real estate, and like you said, when you make a bad bet here, worst case scenario, you lose 20% of your original stake. There's no other business in the world. I have a brother-in-law who's a very successful attorney, and he came to me when I first started Amazon, and he saw I knew what I was doing. He said, dude, listen, I got 30 grand sitting in the bank. I got 100 grand sitting in the bank. I'm not buying a house anytime soon, and the cash doesn't really help me in my business of being an attorney. Let me give it to you in August. Let me give it to you in September. You'll pay me 8% interest, and you don't have to start paying me till January after Q4. And I said, where do I sign? So it was a win for me. It was a win for him, and it was a no-brainer decision. So
I've had similar fourth quarter investments, so I understand.
Right. So that's getting back to Nike. Last sale, they threw us another curveball, in that they only let us buy 5 pairs of shoes per transaction. Now, if you've shopped at Nike, the cost on the goods could be anywhere from $40 to, I would say, for the Kobe's, $120 at cost. So we couldn't hit that $750. So what we did was we scanned clothing, and we piggybacked clothing onto each shoe order. So every order was 5 pairs of shoes and 5 pairs of sweatpants, or 5 pairs of shoes and 5 dry fits, or 5 pairs of shoes and 5 sweatshirts, or sports bras, or compression shorts, or anything else. Golf balls, we did great with Nike golf balls. So you really have to be willing to do whatever it takes when they throw you all these curveballs. And I think that's part of our success, and I'm sure it's a big part of your success too.
Yeah, we had a couple stores try to limit us to 5 last time, but for the most part that didn't happen. The good news is this time there's no such verbiage on the card. It says maximum of 10 pairs per style, which that's always the rule. So there shouldn't be any problem this time.
Right. And we had 2 guys walk into a store, and they said it's a $5,000 a day cap. And so Jackie said, okay, but we each have our own credit cards or our own gift cards. They said, no, only 1 bulk buyer per day. So Jackie's like, you mean to tell me if I walked in at 11 and you had a $5,000 bulk buyer at 10, you would turn me away? And the guy said yes.
What?
Yeah. They come up with every store has their own rules. Another thing, if you're gonna walk in, if you're gonna plan this where you have multiple people shopping for you, let them walk in staggered. Don't let them walk in together.
Right.
So that it's not known or it's not obvious that they're together. So if you have one guy go in, wait 5 minutes, send the next guy in, send the next guy in, It's all about perception. So they can make their own rules, and they have made their own rules, and on a store by store basis, and even on a manager by manager basis. And we have to pretty much play by the rules and the cards that they're dealt to us.
Yeah, the hardest thing about the Nike sale and the Nike store in general is most of their sales are over the weekend when they have the most traffic. So, I mean, I'm usually trying to cause the smallest scene possible, but still get done, what I need to get done. And, if it's not 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon, it's hard to stack up
Correct.
200 pairs of shoes without, having a bunch of people staring and pointing and asking questions and everything else.
Yeah, it would be a lot easier if it was a Monday through Friday than a Thursday through Monday.
Yes, sir.
So just to give you some raw numbers, we bought 102 of these cards. I think we paid about $800 total. So it's a little less than $8 a card. So that allows us to buy $76,500 worth of Nike, and it allows us to save $22,950, less the $800 we paid for the cards. So we're going to make $22,000 before we even sell the goods. I was also talking to Arye Scheinbein behind the scenes, and he said to me, dude, even if you don't use all 102 cards, you made your money back on the cards after you use 4 of them, because you're saving $225 a card. So
yeah, you're much better keeping them on the bench than you are running out if you need them.
Right.
I mean, if I end up with 20 I don't use, so what? Like, that's one card of use is 20.
Well, 10 minutes. Okay. All right. What else you want to share? Obviously, LeBron Soldiers very hot. Nike Flyknit's very hot. Kobe Elites, we're selling them for close to $300. There's Kobe 10s, Kobe 11s, Kobe's that were made for Obama. Obviously, Kobe retired. There's Kevin Durant's. There's so many Nike shoes, so many Nike clothing. Compression shorts, sports bras, golf balls, dry fits. Also, another thing which most people will not do, we try to do what most people won't do or can't do. So we have a bunch of college kids that intern here every summer. Some of them are repeats from last summer. Some of them are new. They all have one thing in common. They're very tech savvy. They can create listings faster than I could do anything in this world. I'm not a create a listing guy. But I told Jackie this summer, if you could find a pair of Nike, let's say dry fit shorts, and they don't scan and they're not listed on Amazon, but you see 6 different colors of the same style, and there's 6 different sizes of each of those 6 different colors, we can make 36 listings of a Nike dry fit short, and we'll be the only seller. We'll sell it for list price or maybe even higher because we have the ability to create listings in mass. Obviously, if it's a one-off and you can't, buy bulk and you can't buy different colors and different sizes, it may not be the best use of your time. My guys are telling me that to make one listing probably takes them 15 to 20 minutes. So you could do the math on an 8-hour shift. It's probably 25 to 40 listings. But if it's a parent child, they could do it a lot faster. So keep that in mind for those of you that want to create listings. The images are ubiquitous all over the internet. You could take pictures with your iPhone or your Android. They're good enough for Amazon. Create listings, own the buy box. We looked at our buy box percentage. We're close to 45%. And the reason for that is because we're the only seller on a boatload of clothing and shoes.
Is there any questions in the chat or anything coming in, Sam? I haven't looked.
I wouldn't know how to work that if you paid me. Any questions, Bueller? Anyone? There's probably a corresponding chat.
I'm so not good at this stuff.
But I'm not the guy for that. Probably should have brought someone in on this as a moderator. But,
okay, I said hello. Anybody see that?
I see it, but I think I'm the only one. Let's try this.
I I see it. Car 54, where are you?
All right. So I don't know if there's any questions. Anything else you wanted to add, Harvey?
Nope, that's pretty much it. The only other thing I guess I would add is you're kind of spoiled up there with Jersey with no tax. I live in a state with 6% sales tax.
Okay.
I generally just pay it. I don't like to rock the boat if they're going to let me spend as much money as I want to spend. There's enough meat on the bone. I don't need the tax exempt. There's other states like Louisiana where it's 10%. There's Florida, I think it's 9 or 10%. I don't really have any great advice. Whether some will do it, some won't. Some will be mad, some won't.
I mean,
so just kind of maybe know the waters before you go swim in them.
right. You could casually ask, do you take a resale certificate? You'll get a resounding yes or a resounding no. You'll know where you stand, and you can factor that into your calculations.
Yeah.
I wonder, is there a way where they would ship it out of state to, let's say, a New Hampshire and New Jersey, or they're not in the shipping business?
The coupon card says absolutely not.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that's necessarily
right.
true, but it does say that.
Right. I think the overwhelming message here is, whatever it takes by any means necessary. If they block you one way with credit cards, use gift cards. If they block you, how many you could buy, buy clothing too to get up to that $750. If you have multiple buyers, have someone in prepare the orders. If you hit multiple stores, Harvey said he's going to hit 6 or 8 stores. We don't have that many that close to us, and we don't shop on Saturdays. And we have 1 or 2 guys that'll go on Sunday. So we really have to use all the cards Thursday, Friday, and Monday. Don't be afraid to buy deep of a great sales rank because you're getting 30% built in. So if you would normally buy 3 of a shoe, maybe you want to buy 6 or 10 of a shoe because these sales don't come around too often. And trust me, we all know how quickly Nike sells. I did a study on my account. We sell Nike 3 times faster than any other shoe brand.
That's great.
So just keep that in mind. Obviously, a big factor is you're not seeing on Amazon on the listings. You might see 6 p.m., which is owned by Amazon. You might see Zappos, which is owned by Amazon, but you're not seeing Amazon. And the reason for that is Nike does not want to alienate their entire retailer network by selling to Amazon. So Zappos doesn't typically discount, and 6 p.m. is typically closeouts and liquidations. And we buy Nike from 6 p.m. and sell on Amazon. So, there's a lot of opportunity there. People always ask me, do I think Nike will become restricted? And I've given the same answer. The only way it would happen is if Nike made a deal with Amazon, and they haven't done it in 21 years, so I don't think they're going to do it anytime soon.
Also, if you watch some of their documentaries, Sam, like on Netflix and Amazon Prime,
right?
Phil Knight has built in the mystique of reselling the limited Jordans all the way back from.
Yeah.
The Nike mystique is the third party reseller, resale, collectible market. So
the sneakerheads
from the beginning. So that makes me. I mean, I'm still scared, obviously, like everybody, but I'm as confident as I could be with a brand as big and as popular as Nike that it's not going to be restricted.
And the other thing is, if Nike went restricted and they didn't make a deal with Amazon, that couldn't happen because Amazon wouldn't be Amazon if you couldn't buy Nike on there. They wouldn't be the everything store. And Amazon needs us to sell Nike for them. I hate to say it, but it may sound a little arrogant. They need us to sell Nike on their platform because they can't do it as Amazon. Now, from what I understand from all these big companies, the deal with Amazon is they say they will honor map pricing unless someone else breaks it, at which point all bets are off. So as soon as someone breaks map on Nike, Amazon would follow suit and crush the price. So I'm sure Nike is aware of that, and that's a big part of the reason. Nike sells billions of dollars worth of sneakers all over the world, and a lot of people would be pissed if Amazon started tanking prices. it could pretty much cripple the entire Nike network. So just keep that in your mind when you're worrying about Nike going restricted. I don't advocate putting all your eggs in one brand's basket. I know we had a scare a few months ago with Nike where it looked like it was going restricted for a day or two. David Shannon jumped on a plane from St. Louis and flew out here. He's like, teach me how to sell other shoes, like, and we went to the outlet mall, me, him, and Jackie. We showed him a million other brands. It is scary, but don't be so scared to make a mistake that you give yourself no chance to succeed. And I think that's a big no-no in this business. A lot of people are so afraid to make a mistake that they give themselves no chance to succeed.
I agree.
All right, we're going to wrap it up here because we have an App Eagle webinar coming up shortly for Ace 2.0 clients. Harvey, as always, I thank you for your knowledge and expertise and wisdom. Are you shuffling cards there?
Nike.
Oh, Nike cards.
Yeah.
You're doing the exact same thing I'd be doing right now. Jackie has all the cards, and I think he's gonna sleep in the Nike store tonight. He actually goes there for their Monday morning meetings and participates in the meetings. And at the end of the meeting, they all go like this, and they go swoosh. It's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. So we got our whole staff, we got our friends, we got our family. We have suppliers of ours that are like, yeah, I'll go to Nike, I'll check out for you. Just tell Jackie to have the goods ready for me. And we literally sent, I think it was 49 people last time, different people.
Wow.
So if you multiply that over a 5-day sale, we could go 245 times, And it's the stuff sells as soon as it gets to Amazon. Anyway, I got to go see a guy about about some money. And I shall bid you adieu. Happy hunting. And let's go kick some Nike ass. Pardon my French. Thank you, Harvey.
You're welcome.
Take care, buddy.
All right. Later.